Hey everyone, XanaGear here. Surprise patch by the Spelunky 2 dev team today, so as always, I'm going to read the patch notes for you. Here we go. First one is fixed rare case where mounts were being crushed. Getting unjustly crushed by a sliding wall should now be considerably harder. Vendors and NPCs will now anger if the player drops their backpack on them. This is another response to the exploit you could use by getting above a shopkeep and dropping your jetpack or other backpack on their head and killing them, causing no aggro. Also, this has the small side effect for the pacifist category on Moss ranking and the pacifist note in the journal specifically. If you dropped your jetpack on Tiamat for the last hit, you could kill her and still get the pacifist note. So this now patches that officially. So if you're planning on doing pacifist runs, make sure you do the UFO method instead. Prevented thrown entities from being crushed when thrown on a ceiling while the thrower is riding a mount. I didn't know that was a problem. Fixed online progress being wiped on closing the game after a run. Capes and jetpack now deploy when pressing jump and attack buttons at the same time. This is the biggest change in my opinion in this patch. It's been a massive problem and something you always have to keep in mind when playing the game, especially speedrunning. So before, if you tried to jump and then whip jump with Vlad's cape, you could not. It just, you would have a delay on the second jump. So this is a massive change. Same goes for jetpack. You can now, whip jetpack a Jiangxi, for example, in Tidepool much easier. So that's a huge change. I didn't expect them to make this late. So cape will now remain deployed on shooting a weapon. This is another change that's huge. You can now, just hover and shoot a shotgun repeatedly or a plasma cannon, and it won't cut off your hover, which is massive. Added previous Palace of Pleasure's laser trap back, pointing to the correct end this time. Fixed Jungle Sisters and Thief reappearing alive after being killed. Also, they're not immortal demons. Got it. Fixed Jungle Sisters not enraging on killing them with one single hit. Completing a level in co-op while a secondary player is riding a still on sale or Yang delivered mount. No longer bring said mount with you. Sad. You can no longer steal from Yang. Prevented frozen vendors from spawning their weapons on throwing a bomb inside the shop, on webbing them, or on breaking a shop tile. That's a big nerf to the web gun. The most overpowered item in the game. Killing the merchant with one hit will now make her disappear with a smoke bomb as well instead of leaving a corpse. Okay, I didn't know that was an issue with Ton. Vendors and NPCs now detect active floors and are able to jump over them to chase the player. Prevented spring traps from trying to move a shooting UFO or a walking bee. Okay. Shields now protect against hard boss's fireballs. Before you couldn't use a shield to block Hundun's fireball, so that's a good change. Big buff to the best item in the game. Fixed case where the water was not affecting some entities thrown by the pitcher's mitt. Fixed caveman boss state after being flashed while he was jumping. Don't flash Quoback, guys. Meanies. Fixed weird caveman bosses bouncing. I always thought that was like, sometimes it's just gonna bounce, but apparently it was a not intended thing. Fixed held entities depth on throwing a bomb and then jumping while climbing. Fixed the conveyor belt when a player hanging from a falling platform landed on it. I just got a follow on Twitch while I'm offline. Cool. Fixed climbing hermit crab state after being frozen. The mole will now retreat if it collides with a shield while it is exiting from the floor. No more glitchy moles. Prevented powder kegs from exploding when an on-fire entity touches it on a corner through the floor. Slightly increased bats hitboxes while hanging, so boomerangs won't miss them when they are thrown very close to them. Prevented sticky bombs from attaching to a bow's arrow of a player. Prevented sticky bombs from attaching to a bow's arrow of a player being held by the thrower. I think that should stay in the game. Explosions now affect held creatures and fragile items. Fixed wild mounts state after riding them twice very quickly. Spark traps will now also affect unequipped backpacks. That's unfortunate. So now if you put your jetpack down in a bad spot, you're screwed. Prevented spark traps from igniting torches while inactive. Opening presents by using up an attack now tosses the content forward so they can more easily be skipped, just like the crates. Players can now carry a golden monkey through pipes. Let's go! Let's go! Monkey justice. Hashtag monkey justice. Let's go. That's something I tweeted about whenever our poor little monkey didn't make it to Cosmic Ocean. Sad. Shop lamps can now be cloned. Excalibur and Broken Excalibur now affect armored Olmites. Fixed Lavamander's light when bubbled while turning incandescent. That's a sentence that's never been typed before. That's a good one. Fixed visuals of the last part of a vine when a new one started just below. Improved plague event performance. What's a plague event? Prevented a certain monster dropped jetpack from exploding due to subsequent explosions. You can now cook a bomb at Osiris, basically. Fixed issue where player co-op coffins were sometimes not spawning in a certain purple world. You know, a certain purple world. No one can guess what that is. Bear traps can now crush corpses. Fixed the Ujet socket button icon after enabling it. Prevented auto jump on holding jump button to turn off a hover pack being too close to the ground. Fixed run recap survived death message on sacrificing in a specific location. Prevented bombs and ropes usage when a riding player is crossing a door. Fixed sorceress's attack state on being webbed or bubbled. Prevented push blocks from dragging flying entities. Fixed backpack not activating when pressing the jump button twice very fast. Improved arena pre-match screen and in-level countdown. Fixed flying arrow state after colliding with honey or sticky traps. Duplicated pickup items can now be picked up in multiplayer mode. This is huge. This is something I requested the minute I started playing multiplayer. You can't pick up Kapalas in multiplayer in previous patches. Now you can. So we've tested it. That's part of the reason why the patches, why this video is going up so late today. As I just wanted to see some, get some reactions from the community so I can confirm if it works or not. So yes, you can carry items that you already have. So if you have spike, if your friend drops spike shoes and you're playing like 4-player, if they drop spike shoes and a Kapala, and one person has spike shoes, one person has a Kapala, you can each pick those up and carry them to the next level where they resurrect, and you can give it back to them. That's huge, and I think that's a very, very good change. Helps the balance a lot. Fixed crash in the last level when only one player was alive and it disconnected, and other possible related crashes. Untamed frozen mounts can now be picked up. Chained spike balls and falling platforms can now kill floating orbs. Oh, wow. So they're not just going to move them. That's crazy. Okay. Fixed horizontal speed on throwing something with the pitcher's mitt while the player's riding mount is crouching on a tight corridor. Added a close message to the tutorial's journal. Fixed case where the spike ball trap and the falling platform are pushing entities instead of damaging them. Okay. Fixed random crash. Players can now look up and down while using the hover pack. Oh, that's neat. Prevented gold monkey from spawning potentially infinite treasure on picking up and dropping it continuously. Fixed ink effect while being inked while a previous effect was already disappearing. Fixed rare case where the ending scene was not triggering and players kept walking forever. Prevented metal arrow from sticking on the top of Olmec when Olmec is jumping. Fixed witch doctor skull creation when being revived by a necromancer. So be careful if you do the sun challenge before the necromancers wouldn't generate their skull most of the time. So just be careful there. Or the witch doctor's skull. Laser traps now also detect mounts riders. Fixed frozen hang spider state on bouncing on a floating orb. Fixed bug on angered vendors and NPCs, which was preventing them from jumping when they had a platform above them. Fixed some cases where the Ankh was being triggered at the same time as a transition, causing some blocks. Prevented arena's monsters from moving during the initial countdown. Bombs will no longer switch ownership so easily. Dirk, ow. No, bombs will no longer switch ownership. I actually don't know what that means. Dirk, ow, and pilot coffins will now always spawn, containing a hired hand if they were already unlocked. This is massive. So, for people that run score, if you have a guaranteed Dirk, it means you have a guaranteed hired hand in Sunken City every run, which means you can now get Plasma Cannon to Cosmic Ocean much easier. Obviously, you have to get a Plasma Cannon to that point, and it won't. If it's, I haven't tested it, but if it's not always on 7-1, it still will be pretty difficult. So it's not like a, not as big of a change. But Pilot is in Mothership. That's pretty far along. But you get a hired hand in Neo Babylon too. So either way, hired hand in Sunken City, a good change. Prevented monkeys from jumping over and over if they hit a shield during the first jump from a vine. Add a new option in Arena to set how much damage the whip inflicts. Warning, this will change the save game binary format. That's cool that you can make your whip do damage. Added a simple cosmetic minigame to the credits. I checked this out, and it is you can move the ship as it's flying through the credits. It's pretty neat. Improved torch fire in title scene and character selector. Added cosmetic shooting stars to the base camp sky. This is probably a hint towards Spelunky 3, obviously. In Spelunky 3, you're going to be going to deeper into space. And these cosmetic stars are obviously part of a ARG, hinting at Spelunky 3. We'll see. Reduced constellations stars size in the base camp, and constellations lines are now visible when using the telescope. So you can see your neat lines whenever you look through the telescope. All us Cosmic Ocean winners. There's so many of us, Prevented invisible digging moles from triggering arrow traps. Prevented players from being moved by conveyor belts while webbed. Fixed wooden log traps death message. Fixed boomerang state if the original thrower disappears. Explosions will now compromise the integrity of purchasable jetpack backpacks. Does that mean it damages them instead of just killing them right away? Fixed Tusk's dice shop spawn when having previously missed the thief. Fixed shield not reflecting some sorceress's daggers. Changed arena colors to use the team colors. Converted hold the idle seconds counter into countdown. Landmines will now explode on touching lava. Fixed certain cloned followers held item on changing level while the original follower remains sleeping in a certain place. Prevented falling platforms and sliding walls from getting on fire. Prevented Gist from killing players ignoring the invulnerability frames of crossing a door. Throwing a rope while crouching will now always create the rope on the next tile. Fixed movement of spike ball trap, sticky trap, and tentacle trap under some circumstances. Fixed Held's visibility on exiting from a layer door in co-op without actually crossing it. Fixed main menu issue when players got disconnected from online matches. Prevented parachute from deactivating on throwing something while deployed. Fixed some blocked paths. Fixed some little texture artifacts. Fixed case where a spark trap was generating too close to the entrance in a certain looping levels. That's Cosmic Ocean. Soundtrack's now on Spotify. Hired hands won't jump from the player's arms until reaching a secure position. Fixed some cases where the AI was jumping directly to danger. The AI will now check falling damage while wandering as well. The AI will now take into account some dangerous entities like acid bubbles. Don't just jump into those anymore. Fixed AI's spear trap handling. Prevented AI from trying to go through breakable floors from just above. Improved whip usage for the AI, giving more margin on attacking monsters to prevent getting hurt. Hired hands won't fight giant fish anymore. Fixed monster about to wake up detection for the AI. Improved AI security on handling blocks about to regenerate. The AI will now take into account the player position before breaking any breakable tile. Fixed some easy jumps for the AI. Fixed hired hand state while underwater. Hired hands can now be picked up while in shops. Huh. Okay. That was like a previous patch where they made it so you couldn't pick them up in shops. Waiting hired hands now follow players as soon as they leave a shop. Prevented hired hands from using an exit door. Prevented hired hands from trying to pick up a riding monster. Fixed hired hand jump over some stuck dangerous monsters. Improved AI targeting. Target handling after detecting some danger in the path of the current target. Improved how hired hands handle plasma cannon to prevent some catastrophes. Fixed unarmed crossbow handling for the AI. Prevented hired hands from using weapons or shields inside shops. Hired hands will now fight untamed dangerous mounts. Hired hands will now pick up tamed mounts. Fixed case where a hired hand was not following another hired hand on waking up while the other hired hand was in the other layer. Okay, that's it. A lot of hired hand changes at the end. That's really great. Hired hands getting better is a great thing for the game. I know it's been quite an ordeal for the devs, so we appreciate it. I think the AI developers probably watching people play it and saying, "Oh man, no one's opening hired hands because they're a nightmare." So maybe I should start opening some more now that they're getting better and better. But other than that, pretty massive patch. A lot of big changes that will affect the way I play the game. So hopefully it'll help me get some more wins. Like I got my low percent sunken city win yesterday, and you can watch that video. I just uploaded it, and I'll have this going up later today, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a good one. Bye.